I don't know whoever made.
You guys ready? And if we could just have everybody from Pamela introduce themselves, and then once Joe's had his turn, we'll let Lance kick it off and see what happens from there.
Roger that.
Right.
I'm Pamela Thompson. I'm reading the part of Leslie, the daughter, friend, coffee girl, babysitter, hostess, and female patron. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for coming.
And I'm Laura Mason. I'm happy to be here. Hi, Mama. Haven't seen you forever. Anyway, so, I'm reading the part of Susan, Ellen, Brianna, and the receptionist.
Jonathan Perry, reading Henry and Hagen.
I'm Katie. I'm reading Jane and young Jane.
I'm Tate McCullough. I'm reading William and John.
I am Erin Westfall. I am reading Sharon, Retta, and Shelby.
I'm Lance Thompson. I'll be the voice of God.
How appropriate.
Wow. That's why you do the tall chair. Now we know.
That's right. That explains it.
Okay.
Paul Kersey, not playing the voice of God. I'll be Doug and young Doug.
My name is Shelby Bay, and I am reading Emily and Nell.
I'm Brett Dayne, and I'm reading for Paul and Todd.
I'm Lana Roberts. I'm reading Mary Caroline Rose Zalba, older woman.
Yeah.
I'm Katie Garoznik. I am reading for Jen, Avon, and Kate.
And I'm Joe Colletti. I'm reading all the parts that you haven't heard yet. Vaughn, Delivery Boy, Yuppie Mail, and James.
Yuppie Mail.
Yuppie Mail.
Oh, there's Vaughn.
Oh.
You can be Yvonne.
Sorry, I didn't realize your name's that close. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You can call me Chadwick.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who's reading the stage direction?
The
voice of God.
That is pretty awesome. When you don't even have.
I see. I get it. I'm
Wow.
Okay.
That's embarrassing.
No pressure, though. He messes up, we all go into a river or something.
Yeah. Don't throw it out.
Better start
Well
swimming.
Shot in the Foot by Mack Lewis. In the beginning. Interior Kieran's household, 1980s day. Top of a console television as the audio from a 1960s rural sitcom in syndication is heard. The family photo displays young boy, Doug, standing between his parents, Henry and Mary. An older half-sister, Jane, stands beside her father. Doug Kearns, the 10-year-old from the photo, lies before the television, surrounded by crayons, loose paper, and an unbeaten Rubik's Cube. He draws a large pig, his favorite character on the syndicated program. After a moment, he angrily scrawls over the illustration, negating it. He watches the TV for a moment, frustrated at his failed drawing.
Crap.
Exterior Kearns household, 1980s day. Doug slams open the screen door at a full run and continues out past the driveway. His parents are washing their station wagon. It is summer, bright with saturated colors.
Doug, slow down. Where are you headed, son?
Doug turns around but doesn't stop moving.
To meet William at the park. He's waiting for me. I'm late. I forgot.
Well, have fun then.
I'll try.
Be back before dark. You don't want to miss the fireworks, do you?
I won't be late.
But that is gone. Exterior suburban neighborhood, 1980s day. Doug hustles down the sidewalk, rushing to the park. Watching from the front step of a house up the block is the girl from the family photo, Jane, a precociously mature 14-year-old.
Hey, Doug.
Doug screeches to a stop in front of the house.
What do you want?
Nothing. Just bored. What are you doing?
Jane lightly scratches beneath her halter top just above her breast.
Going down to the park.
You want to hang out for a while?
I don't know. Why? I thought you were babysitting Todd.
She smiles to herself as she plays with the strap of her halter top.
I am, but I've got something I want to show you, my little man.
But the park, Jane. William's waiting.
William can wait.
Jane catches herself looking at Doug a little more intently.
Listen, little Todd's big brother just got Missile Command for his Atari. You should check out.
Missile Command? Really? Oh, I don't know. I guess.
Come on. Want to see it? It'll be okay.
Jane stands and holds her hand out to him. Doug follows her into the house and she shuts the door behind them. Fade out, interior art museum night. Present day. Doug Kearns walks through the gallery admiring his art. 46, doughy, balding, slightly unkempt, carrying his winter coat on his arm, a little overdressed. His cell phone alarm goes off. He checks the display, then panics.
Oh, crap.
He dons his coat and rushes out. Exterior downtown, credits montage, night. Winter, cold as hell, establishing where our story takes place, and Doug nervously power walks to his appointment. Exterior restaurant, night. Doug anxiously waits at the restaurant, at the entrance to a restaurant.
Hey, Doug.
He turns as his date approaches. Jen McCullough, early 30s.
You made it.
Just a few minutes late. That's not too bad, is it?
Not at all.
Doug holds the door open, inviting her to join him.
At least it stopped snowing.
Her face lights up when she smiles, and they step inside. Interior restaurant, night. A quiet romantic dinner for two is underway as Doug watches Jen for a moment. He tries to tamp down his nervousness.
How's your dinner?
This is really good.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Jen reaches for a glass of wine.
I'll have to remember to bring my girlfriends here sometime.
Doug smiles a little more as he returns to his meal. Exterior movie theater, night. The couple approaches the movie palace and step inside. Interior movie theater lobby, night. Doug steps in with Jen and hands their tickets to the manager, William, who dutifully rips them. He wears a name tag which reads Fedorchuk.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Doug leads Jen into the lobby but looks expectantly back to the manager. William gives Doug a nod of approval. A smile returns to Doug's face as they walk into the theater. Interior movie theater later. Doug and Jen silently watch a glorious old movie. Both are enthralled. Jen with the film and Doug by his date. He takes her hand in his. She glances over to Doug, smiling. Her attention returns to the film. Exterior movie theater night. The audience spills out of the theater, Doug and Jen among them.
That was a great movie. Thank you for introducing it to me.
Anything for a lady.
Jen blushes as she digs her hands into her pockets, fighting the chill. Doug puts his arm around her waist and leads the way. Interior parking garage, night. Doug walks Jen up to her car. She releases herself from Doug and starts fiddling with her purse.
Well, here we are. Thanks for dinner and the movie.
It's been my pleasure.
She offers a gentle first kiss to Doug, then pulls back and smiles at her date.
I had a really nice time.
I'm glad. I enjoyed hanging out with you tonight.
Jen moves in for another brief kiss. Doug puts his arms around her and deepens the kiss. Jen goes with it. Wrapped up in the moment, Jen squeezes Doug's arm. He eases his hand up to her breast. Oh, crap. She reacts, backing up against her car, surprising Doug.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that you wanted...
She finds her car keys and gets in.
Good night, Doug.
I'm sorry, Jen. It's my fault. I wasn't thinking.
Her car roars to life and pulls out of its parking space. The headlights wash across Doug, then leave him in darkness. Exterior downtown night. Doug trudges down the sidewalk, beating himself up for what just happened. Interior projection booth night. William packs up tonight's film for shipping and goes through his routine as Doug's therapist and advisor. This isn't his first rodeo.
So you both go out, have a lovely dinner in a quaint little restaurant, see a classic movie, share some popcorn, things are going great, you like her, she likes you, but after you walked her to her car...
He plops down on a stool and faces Doug, who sits deep in his shame spiral.
She does what?
Leaves.
Because? Just say it. What happened this time?
Come on, Will. You know how I like to...
William makes an annoying buzzer sound, cutting Doug off.
And gone, apparently. Thank you for playing. Yes, I do know how you are. And so do you. So what's the problem? Why do you still do this?
I got all wrapped up in the moment. I thought it was what she wanted. It was just... It felt like the right thing. Then it got awkward.
How was it the right thing? Was it for you, or was it for her?
Well, I did it for her. I wanted for her to feel good.
What were you thinking about?
Her. I like her a lot. I thought that was what she would want.
You don't know her well enough to like her a lot, Doug. Have you thought about that? It's one thing to feel comfortable with someone.
But...
All right, then. How far ahead did your mind go this time?
Doug squirms, not answering.
Living together? Marriage? Or did you just think about making wild monkey love to her all the time? Do you remember what happened with Caroline?
Doug shifts in his seat, looking much more uncomfortable. Exterior restaurant patio, flashback night. Doug and Carolyn Headley, a woman slightly older than Doug, sit at a small table enjoying their meal. Half-empty glasses of wine sit before them. Doug reaches over and lightly touches Carolyn's cheek. She leans into his hand. Doug slowly moves in and they kiss. After a moment, the kiss deepens. Interior Doug's car, flashback night. Doug and Carolyn continue their tongue hockey in Doug's car. Doug is really into it, Carolyn less so.
Sorry. I think I've had too much to drink.
Doug sits back in his seat and starts the car. Interior projection booth night.
And Retta?
Exterior public space flashback day. A street fair is in progress, nestled within an open public space as Yvonne, a folk singer, performs on the outdoor stage. Doug and Retta Kimball walk through the crowd holding hands. They sit on the edge of a brick planter and smile at each other, glad to be in the other's company. Exterior Retta's apartment flashback night. Doug walks Retta up to her door. As she finishes searching for her keys, she turns to Doug and kisses him with first date innocence.
Thanks. I had a good time tonight.
Me too. Thanks. Sorry.
Doug steps in and gives Retta a hug. The hug lasts longer than it should. Retta holds her hand away from Doug as his hug continues. She wasn't prepared for this. Interior projection booth night.
And then there was, what was her name?
Interior Kate's apartment, flashback day. Kate Leffler in her pajamas answers the door.
Kate.
Opening it, she finds a delivery boy standing before her with roses. Kate is taken aback.
Miss Leffler?
That's right, Kate.
Kate returns to the door, uneasy.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Angle on the card that accompanied the roses. It reads, I really enjoyed our time last night. I hope you're feeling better, Doug. The telephone rings. Kate answers.
Oh, hi, Doug. Surprised? Completely. No, they're nice. I don't know what to say.
Interior turns household, living room, flashback, night.
And then Ellen.
Doug and Ellen Magnuson step into the darkened living room in the middle of a passionate kiss. Ellen pulls back from the kiss, coming up for air, laughing. Doug shushes her.
Quiet. You'll wake up my folks.
Ellen smiles for a moment, then gets serious, pushing Doug against the wall.
Something wrong?
Her hand starts working just below frame.
Not yet.
Ellen moves down to her knees out of frame. A look of wonder passes over his face. Interior projection booth night.
Didn't quite know how to react to a woman like that, did you?
She definitely knew what she wanted.
Interior Doug and Ellen's bedroom, flashback morning. A toddler, Leslie, cries as she sat in her crib, upset at her parents' argument.
Ellen, stop. You're upsetting Leslie.
For his troubles, he receives a hard smack across the face. Ellen's face is streaked with tears as she pulls the ring from her left hand. She throws it at Doug.
Take this, you son of a bitch. Doesn't mean shit anymore.
Doug picks the ring up from the floor and steps toward Ellen.
Yeah, yes, it does. It always will.
Ellen backs away from Doug, moving around their bed. She pulls her robe tight around her, concealing herself from Doug.
No, it can't. Not until you change.
Interior projection booth night.
So who does that leave in the post-divorce category?
Doug considers the question. Interior exterior, various locations, flashback montage. A series of women Doug has asked out in their respective workplaces, beginning with Nell, a fellow teacher.
I'm seeing someone.
Megan, a grocery store cashier.
Whoopsie.
Sorry, any other time.
Rosalba, a postal worker delivering Doug's mail.
I just got out of a really intense relationship.
Brianna, a barista at a drive-through coffee hut.
You hardly even know me.
Gwen, a waitress at Haji's. A male bartender, Todd, is seen behind her.
We just got back together a couple days ago.
Chelsea, a fellow teacher. She chokes back an awkward, horrified bit of nervous laughter.
Doug, honey, I've never thought of you that way.
Yvonne, the folk singer.
I'm gay. I thought you knew that. No?
Jen, who manages a small art framing shop.
That sounds nice. Sure.
Interior projection booth night.
Just Jen. 9 years, and only Jen said yes.
William prompts Doug to continue.
The only one since Emily.
Interior Emily's classroom, flashback day. Doug is giving Emily Stevens, a fellow school teacher, a shoulder massage, which she is enjoying a great deal.
That feels good.
Well, the full body massage is always available if needed.
Emily pats his hand as she jokes with him.
Well, it's always needed, my Viking.
Doug moves his hand down from Emily's shoulders. He kisses her on the neck, and Emily reacts, jumping out of her chair. Doug recoils from this sudden, unexpected reaction. Emily straightens herself. She looks up to Doug, full of anger and shock.
Jeez, Doug, what were you thinking?
I thought that...
Interior projection room, night. Doug sits silently. He seems to be imploding.
She was your best friend at work, Doug. Your best female friend, period.
Interior Emily's classroom, flashback day. Emily listens as they stand alone in the empty classroom.
I thought it was what you wanted. I thought you wanted me to... Keep going. Isn't that what women want? What do you want? What can I do to make you happy?
How long did it take for you two to talk again?
Year and a half. By then, she was already seeing...
Interior sports bar flashback night.
Brett.
Oh, Paul Holditch, attorney at law. My apologies.
Emily is introducing her new boyfriend, Paul Holditch, to Doug at Paul's favorite watering hole. He's a vigorous greeter. Interior projection booth night. William looks sadly at his friend. Doug tries to say something, but is forced to listen.
I've known you since forever, and you've had this problem ever since you tried kissing Yvonne Graves in the 6th grade. High school, college, the 3 months you dated your wife, the years of hell before you separated from her, the 9 since the divorce. For all of your daughter's birthdays, the 5 women you've gone out with for an average of 1 2/3 dates, only to find yourself left here with me again. Now granted, I'm not bad company. It's just that you could do a lot better.
That's easier said than done.
I know that. Ellen's not around to make you feel like shit anymore, just you.
I know that. But there's times where it feels like maybe I've aged out of the dating pool. Past the sell-by date and all that sort of horse shit. You know, maybe it's become too late to keep hoping for something to change.
Hope is for suckers.
I don't know, maybe.
Exterior Rexburg day. The modest skyline of Rexburg, Idaho is revealed in the monochromatic tones of the eastern Idaho winter. Interior Rexburg home, bathroom, day. The instructions on a pregnancy test box are read by a nervous Sharon Arnold, née Preston. She bites her lower lip as she finally opens the carton and takes the test. Interior Rexburg home, living room, day. Sharon sits on the couch, her face stained with an afternoon of tears. The living room walls are covered with her art, paintings which showcase a talent we'll see later. On the coffee table sits the pregnancy test box and applicator. Sharon listens as the car door slams shut outside. John Arnold, an Idaho State Trooper in uniform, steps into the house and walks directly into the kitchen, ignoring Sharon's state.
What a day.
John opens the fridge, pulls out a Diet Pepsi, and opens it. He walks into the living room. He spots the box.
Well, how did it turn out?
Sharon continues to cry as John steps forward, anger flashing onto his face. John throws the soda can against the wall beside Sharon. She moves away from John, cringing.
Fetch, Sharon! How can this keep happening? Why won't you do this for me? We can't. I will not wait for this forever. My family deserves this. I deserve it.
Sharon sobs out her apologies, her face hidden in the couch cushions.
Clean that up.
Interior Rexburg home kitchen night. A few utility bills are piled on the kitchen table. Sharon steps in, dressed in sweats, her long hair a mess. She lays her cell phone and house keys on the table, then leaves. Exterior Rexburg home night. The small house is quiet as Sharon silently steps out, carrying out an armful of clothes and a suitcase. In the driveway, a state police cruiser sits beside an oversized pickup. Her car, an older Honda, is parked on the street. Sharon throws everything into the back seat. She climbs in and quickly fires up the Honda, pulling away from her home and her husband, abandoning her life here. Exterior Rexburg Highway 20 night. The Honda drives away from the small town, the large Mormon temple dominating the background. Interior Honda driving night. Driving, Sharon retrieves a scrunchie from her purse and pulls her long hair back, revealing fresh bruises. Exterior Idaho Falls Interstate night. Sharon speeds up the on-ramp, passing a road sign declaring her destination and its distance. Boise, 286 miles. Interior Honda driving morning. The sun peeks over the mountains behind her as Sharon continues her drive. Exterior Interstate day. The Honda is cruising along Interstate 84 as it bisects southwestern Idaho's high mountain desert. Interior Honda driving day. Sharon looks worse than before. The drive is wearing on her. The faintest trace of a smile moves across her face as she sees a dark green road sign draws near, declaring Boise, next 5 exits. Exterior office building day. A Honda pulls into the parking lot of a glass-enclosed office building, its exterior reflecting the neighboring Boise greenbelt. Sharon steps out of her car and goes inside. Interior law firm day. A bright-faced receptionist looks up at the arrival and sees Sharon looking like hell. Concern lessens the woman's cheery demeanor.
Hi there. How may I help you?
Paul Holditch, please.
Is he expecting you?
No, he's not. Please, I need to...
What's your name, sweetheart? I'll let him know you're here.
Sharon Arnold. Thank you.
The receptionist pushes the appropriate button and gets Paul on the line.
Mr. Holdridge, Sharon Arnold is here to see you. Yes, sir. Please.
She hangs up, turning back to Sharon.
He's on his way right now.
Sharon pulls a Kleenex from her purse, trying to clean herself up when Paul Holditch steps into the lobby. His face conveys his immediate concern upon seeing her.
Sharon, what's going on?
I finally followed Emily's advice, so here I am.
A trembling smile turns into tears, and Sharon steps into his arms.
Does John know you're here?
Probably. I don't know.
Julie, please call Emily and tell her I need her right away.
Paul leads Sharon back to his office past the receptionist.
I have an urgent message for Emily Holditch.
Interior law firm office day. Paul places a box of tissues before Sharon. She takes a couple without hesitation. You can stay with us as long as you need to. Sharon wipes the tears from her face.
Thanks, but Mom should let me stay with her.
You don't need to.
Let me see how bad it is before I have to run away again.
Interior law firm hallway day. Emily walks down the hallway and enters Paul's office. Through a glass partition, we see Sharon stand as her best friend steps inside. They hold each other tightly. Exterior Preston home day. Sharon stands before the front door, her things on the walkway behind her. The front door opens and her mother, Susan Preston, steps out, the phone held to her ear, disapproving look on her face.
Yeah, she's here.
Susan turns back into the house, continuing her conversation. The door is left ajar behind her. Resigned, Sharon collects her things and goes inside. Interior Doug's classroom day. Doug sits behind a desk before a 6th grade class. They are working on a project as he sketches on his daily planner. A 50s damsel, think Julie Adams, is accosted by an EC Comics-style ghoul. The style is loose, but the talent is clear. His phone's timer goes off, and he gets up from behind his desk.
Okay, everyone, it's time to start putting things away. You too, Gina. Wrap it up.
Interior movie theater night. A tawdry B-movie in glorious black and white is underway. William steps into the auditorium carrying a popcorn and some sodas. He joins the glum Doug and hands over a beverage.
Thanks.
Always remember that a night out with me is better than the kind where you sit at home feeling sorry for yourself and watching pixelated Japanese porn.
Nothing is better than Japanese porn, or so you tell me.
Except maybe whacking off to the undergarment section of the Sears Wish book circa 1983.
I wouldn't know.
William barks out a defiant laugh, prompting scorn from a female patron sitting nearby.
Don't make me report you to the manager.
Duly chastised, they turn their attention back to the film, smiling at the woman's threat.
I guess she showed me.
Interior craft store day. The framing department of a large craft store is chugging along, catering to a smattering of customers. Sharon steps out from the work area past a ponytailed male co-worker, Dave Vaughn. She barely avoids hitting him with a finished job.
Pardon me, Dave.
Hey, no sweat.
She takes the framed print to the counter. Her demeanor is friendly, her burdens hidden from view. Sharon holds it for her customer, a yuppie male, to see. He takes it.
So, what do you think?
Perfect. Just perfect. You've done an excellent job.
Thank you very much.
The yuppie male sets the print on the counter and leans in a little toward Sharon.
Do you think you might be interested in getting a drink when you get off work tonight?
She nervously motions to her wedding ring.
No, thank you. Sorry. Let me just get your ticket for that. I'll be right back.
Sharon steps back into the work area. She flips the card file, looking for the right invoice. Sharon looks at her hand. It's trembling. Interior Preston home foyer day. The front door opens and Sharon steps inside, her mind elsewhere. Susan steps out from the kitchen.
How was work?
A little better, I guess.
So you're going to keep the job then?
Sharon silently walks to her bedroom, ignoring the question. Her mother calls up after her.
Ignoring the problem won't make it go away. Neither will running away from it. Just like her father.
Interior Preston home garage day. Sharon steps over to a makeshift work area. She has changed into sweatpants and slips on a paint-splattered shirt over a sleeveless tee. A blank canvas sits on an easel before her. She runs her hand along the surface, despair playing across her face. Sharon picks up her brush and palette and goes to work. Interior Preston home garage night. She takes a step back to survey her work as the phone rings on the workbench. After some consideration, she puts down her tools to answer it. Sharon steps over just as the answering machine picks up.
Sharon, answer the phone. Why won't you call me back?
A few tears start to bleed down her cheeks as Sharon listens.
My family wants to know why you're not here. You're my wife. You've got an obligation to me. And to them too. Call me back. Now.
He hangs up. The tears flow freely as Sharon leans against the workbench for support. She looks over to her painting. It is an abstract melange of hurt and pain, darkness overwhelming everything. Interior elementary school hallway day. Emily files out of her classroom behind a mass of students. She looks back to the She looks back the hallway to the next class as Doug walks into the hallway as well.
Hey, Doug.
He looks over and gives her a small wave.
Hey.
Emily maneuvers through the kids and joins Doug.
What are you doing tonight? Paul and I are taking a friend out, and I want you to meet her.
I don't know.
You don't have Leslie tonight, right?
Right. She goes back to Ellen after dinner.
Then meet us at Haji's after you drop her off with the C tag. I'll accept no excuses.
Doug's trapped, and she knows it.
Sure.
Interior downtown bar at night. Haji's bar in Old Boise. Jane Fleming, ginger, early 50s, waves the bartender Todd over to her. She smiles, drunk, flirting with the young man.
Hey, Todd, my little man. How about another 7 and 7?
I think it's time we called you a cab.
Ah, Todd. Come on.
Todd smiles back at her and takes her glass.
Your chariot will be here shortly, Madam Trainwreck.
Whatever. You love me.
Camera follows Todd down the bar as he goes to the cordless phone and starts dialing. Camera continues through the establishment. Gwen, the waitress, works the room. Yvonne and the folk singer perform on the minimal stage. Yvonne, the folk singer, performs on the minimal stage. Camera stops on the table for 4. Sharon sits looking uncomfortable. Beside her are Emily, Paul, and an empty chair.
Well, I had picked up one of those Chia Pet things for the class so we could watch it grow over the course of the school year. Well, I picked up the ram.
The ram?
Sharon isn't paying any attention as she fiddles with her untouched drink.
Yeah, the ram. It's one of these examples of America's future comes up to me and asks me what the deal is.
Okay.
He says, "You have the tree. Fine, that makes sense because the little sprout things look like leaves."
Pine needles.
Anyway, the kid continues, "They've also got those animal chias, a bear. Makes sense, like kids like bears, teddy bears, Smokey the Bear."
Right, exactly.
Then he says, "Then there's this chia ram. What's the deal with that? Kids don't identify with the ram. I don't know anyone who's ever rushed out to the tree on Christmas morning to open a little box with air holes housing a baby ram. If I did," and then he continued, "then I know what kid would have cried because he didn't get a puppy."
I know I would.
I think I should go.
Emily and Paul turn their attention to their friend.
"No, don't go, honey. Doug will be here soon. He's never usually this late. He should be here any time."
I know. It's too early for me to do this just yet. I'm not ready.
Do you need a ride home?
No thanks, I'll get a cab.
Emily stands with Sharon, hugging her tightly.
"I'm sorry, sweetie. I'll call you tomorrow."
It's okay. Good night. I love you.
Sharon weakly waves goodbye and heads to the door. Emily slowly sits back in her chair and Paul puts his arm around her. She's a little teary.
It's okay. It was a good effort.
Emily nods and polishes off her drink. Exterior downtown bar night. Sharon steps out into the night air. The young woman heads to hail a cab, bumping into another pedestrian. Doug.
Oops. Pardon me.
Hey, no problem.
They both continue on their separate ways as Doug enters the bar. Interior elementary school day. Spring. Color has returned to the palette, leaving the monochromatic winter behind. Interior elementary school day. Doug Kearns steps out of his classroom behind the flow of students. Fellow teacher Dan Hagen walks down the hallway, heading to his car.
See you, Doug.
Leaving already?
You bet. You're behind. I F-wording hate these GDPOS Mondays. I'd look out if I were you.
Look out for what?
Not my place to tell.
Hagen smiles as Emily blindsides an unsuspecting Doug, sending them into his classroom. Hagen just keeps walking past. Interior Doug's classroom day. Emily steps back from Doug. She's all smiles. Emily extends her left hand to present a wedding ring.
"Hey, look at this."
Her coworker reacts to the sight. He can't believe his eyes.
You gotta be kidding me.
Interior craft store day. Standing at the framing counter with Emily, Sharon can't believe her eyes.
You gotta be kidding me.
It's not even out of the Cracker Jack box either.
All right, I'll come down. As long as you aren't setting me up with anyone again.
At least come down for us. It's just going to be friends and coworkers. It won't even be a real date.
I don't know.
Well, the only one calling it a date is you. Why don't you bring someone along from work?
Oh, not so loud.
I can take you down there if you want, Sharon.
Sharon is stymied at this intrusion. Emily sees an opening and pats Sharon on the shoulder.
Then it's a date. I'll see you two there. 7 o'clock at Bubba Spank.
Super.
Vaughn smiles at Sharon. She can't quite smile back. Interior sports bar, night. A pack of lawyers and their office staff crowd around a group of tables in their favorite hangout, Bubba Spank. At the head of the table sit the guests of honor, Emily and Paul Holditch, as they feel the kudos and bewilderment of their friends. Seated around them are Doug Kearns, Dan Hagen, William Kent, Yvonne the singer, and an extra teacher and lawyer or two. 2 empty seats remain. They all listen as Emily tells her tale.
Sitting there waiting for him to get ready to go when he says, okay, here's the deal. The way I see it, we can either go out and have a really nice dinner, or we can go to Reno and get married tonight. The license is only 75 clams.
Emily reacts to her retelling as though it was happening for the first time, with maybe a touch of overemphasis for comedic effect. She really is a drama queen at heart.
So I'm sitting there with this stupid look on my face when he says, my bags are already packed in the trunk. I'm just waiting on you. So far be it from me to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Emily leans over and squeezes Paul's cheek like an auntie would with her little nephew. He loves the attention.
Isn't my widow baby romantic?
That's me, Mr. Romance.
The assembled group of friends laughs at the newlyweds as they do their normal shtick. Doug takes his beer and raises it.
A toast.
Glasses raised around the table.
To the Holditches. Who would have thought?
Another round of laughs is accompanied by the clinking of several glasses. In the background, another game of pool has begun with the crack of the break. Interior sports bar, pool table, night. William stands before the pool table waiting for his turn. He wears a John Smallberry's name badge on his vest. A ball slams into a pocket and Doug stands back from the table surveying his options.
Not too bad at all. Won't help you though, Chow Bang.
I'll try not to soil myself.
I should hope not.
Interior sports bar, night. Sharon removes Vaughn's arm from around her shoulder as they enter the bar. Vaughn is sporting a man bun.
It's not a date.
But your friend said...
It's not a date.
Oh, well, do you think your friends will like me?
Sharon can't believe her ears as they step up to the table to find 4 open seats. Emily reacts to the new arrival.
You made it!
Emily gets up and gives Sharon a warm hug. She puts her arm around Sharon and leads her to a seat.
Well, come on, you two. A little late, but always welcome. Have a seat.
Sharon is placed before a large mixed drink, ready and waiting for her. Vaughn sits beside her.
How many of these have you lined up?
Oh, just a dozen or so. It's not like sneaking schnapps in the dorm back in the old days.
Ah, the old days.
I thought you were LDS.
Sharon harshly signals him to shut the fetch up as Emily begins the introductions. Sharon gives a little wave.
Everyone, this is Sharon, my long-lost bestie from Rexburg. Beside her is Vaughn, her coworker from the craft store. Vaughn, this is everyone.
Hey.
Vaughn waves a hello to the other guests as Sharon gulps down her drink. A waitress steps up to take her their order. Sharon indicates her empty glass needs a refill. While he's distracted, Emily leans over to Sharon.
Why don't you and Sweetums go over and play some pool?
Pool? Why's that, Hellcat?
Trust me, it'll be just like college.
Sharon eyes her friend, not sure if she should trust her at this point.
You got some townies for me to hustle.
Interior sports bar, pool table, night. William is setting up the rack for the next game.
You guys up for a game?
He turns and finds himself facing Sharon.
Emily said something about how you two shouldn't play with each other quite so much.
Doug and William share a double take, then look back to Sharon.
That sounds like our Emily, always looking to spoil our fun.
Sharon looks Doug over for a moment, but Vaughn's attention is on William.
So, what's the deal with your name tag?
I've taken it upon myself to test my customers' movie-going acumen by placing obscure character names on my badge and seeing if anyone gets it.
And?
I don't want to talk about it.
Maybe you should give your customers less credit.
In this town? Maybe. You should see the blank stares when I get to wear my Doug Exeter badge. Do you wish to begin the proceedings?
Sharon takes the pool cue from William and leans over the table for the break.
I can imagine life is tough on the satellite of love.
Well done, young miss.
A moment of aiming, then the shot. Perfect.
Sweet zombie Jesus.
Yep, we're hosed.
Sharon moves to her next shot.
I guess you're solids, Mr. Smallberries. 11 in the corner pocket.
She strikes again. The 11 ball snaps into the appropriate pocket. She's getting back into an old rhythm.
Buckaroo Banzai.
You got it, monkey boy. A girl, a monkey girl.
We're in trouble.
Do you play much?
Emily and I played a little during college.
William turns to Doug.
BYU, Idaho, in Rexburg.
So you're a Mormon pool shark.
She smiles and signals. A little.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Sharon takes her next shot but misses, perhaps intentionally.
Okay, I guess you guys are up.
William takes a deep breath, bolstering his confidence. He moves off his stool and walks past Sharon to set up his shot. She moves around the table past Vaughn toward Doug. Doug watches her take the chalk and apply it to her cue. Who is this girl?
Scared yet?
Oh no. In fact, we were just discussing how intimidated you must be surrounded by all this manhood.
Doug motions around the pool table past William shanking his shot to Vaughn. She turns back to Doug and leans forward confidentially.
Your date's not too bad either. I hope Smallberries is just a nickname. Oopsies. Look, we're up.
Sharon manages a small smile for Doug as she hands her pool cue to Vaughn. He whispers an irritated question to her that Doug can't hear and then moves to take his shot. Doug smiles a little to himself as William sits back on his stool.
Well,
what?
Struck out, huh?
It's still early.
Vaughn steps back from the table, frustrated. He's scratched.
Christ.
Sharon looks over to Doug and William. It's their turn.
Come on, we're burning daylight.
Doug takes the pool cue and moves past Sharon as he retrieves the cue ball.
Yes, ma'am.
Knock off that ma'am crap, mucky boy.
Interior sports bar at night. Yvonne is leaving with her date as Doug rejoins the group.
Congratulations, you two. Have a nice night. Good night, Doug. See you soon.
Emily turns to see Doug arriving at their table and grabbing his jacket. She reaches up and gives Doug a hug and a peck on the cheek.
Leaving already?
Doug returns the peck, then pulls back.
Well, you know, it's a school night and I must get my beauty sleep.
Whatever.
Doug turns as Sharon and Vaughn step up to the table. Emily puts her hand on Doug's shoulder, getting his attention.
Doug, this is Sharon Arnold. Sharon, this is Doug Kearns. He works with me at McKimson.
Sharon extends her hand to Doug and shakes his.
Nice to be formally introduced.
Emily motions to Vaughn.
Oh, this is Vaughn. He works with Sharon.
Vaughn politely shakes everyone's hand with only a slight muttered greeting.
Howdy.
After an awkward moment or two,
I'm gonna see if William wants to play some pool.
All right, I'll be there in a bit.
Vaughn looks over to Emily and Doug, forcing a smile.
Nice to meet you all.
You too.
Vaughn returns to the pool table. Sharon slumps down, shaking off the residue of Vaughn.
All better.
She centers herself, glancing from Emily to Doug, now low-key and a little less sure of herself.
It's nice to meet you. Emily's told me a bit about you.
Doug looks over to Emily with mild concern. She's all smiles.
This is my friend from college that I've been trying to get you to meet. You just missed her last time, remember?
Doug rebounds, confident in making the most of picking on Emily.
Oh, really? So this is the Sharon. Sugar Shack Sharon? The Rexburg kid?
Never bring a knife to a gunfight.
Of course. Sorry to run off your boyfriend.
He's just a friend from work, not a boyfriend. That's just Emily trying to be cute.
I see. That's the one you've got to look out for.
No kidding. Just a sec.
Sharon starts to look for something in her purse.
I guess Emily had wanted to introduce us for some time. Yeah. Oh, wait, here you go.
She hands a business card to Doug. He looks it over.
If you want to have coffee sometime.
Really? When?
I don't know. Call me and we'll figure something out, all right?
Doug looks up from the card, light beads of sweat on his brow.
No problem.
Of course not. Well, I'd better go see how Vaughn's doing.
She's starting to shake some of her awkwardness. Doug seems to have found his.
Nice to meet you, Doug. Congratulations, you two. It's about time.
Tell me about it. About damn time.
Thanks, Sharon.
Sharon and Emily exchange a quick hug and Sharon moves off toward the pool table. Emily looks to Doug expectantly.
Well?
Interior Doug's apartment, night. Darkness. The front door unlocks and Doug enters, flipping on the lights. Doug takes off his jacket and tosses it on the couch. He rubs his palms over his pants, trying to dry them off.
It's no big deal. You were just talking with her.
Doug plops down on the couch. He looks over to a corner of his living room. An easel sits with the canvas ready to go, but only collecting dust. Around it, several dozen sketches of potential paintings are pinned to the walls, but nothing good enough.
Nothing to get worked up about.
Interior elementary school hallway day. The door to the teacher's lounge sits idly for a few moments before Dan Hagen exits to return to his classroom. Interior teacher's lounge day. Sharon's business card is looking a little smudged and crumpled. Doug sits, cell phone in hand, as several teachers chain smoke in the background. Doug places the card on the table and starts dialing. As he finishes dialing, Doug rubs his palms over his pants legs, drying them. He takes a deep breath and holds the phone to his ear. Off Doug, one of the smoking teachers, Chelsea, gets up and leaves. Interior craft store day. Several customers are being taken care of as the phone rings and an apron-clad Sharon answers it.
Framing.
A Charlotte owner, please.
Speaking.
Hi there. This is Doug Kearns. We met at Emily and Paul's.
Oh, hi, Doug. How are you doing?
Fine. Just fine. You?
Well, I'm fine as well, I guess. What's up?
Okay, never mind, God. We'll just skip you. This is that awkward first phone call, and I was wondering if you'd like to go out for coffee sometime.
Yeah, we could do that.
Sharon looks over to her waiting customer. The older woman smiles at her.
When? Tonight?
Tonight?
Sharon turns away from her customer. Interior Teacher's Lounge day. Doug waits for a moment thinking, maybe panicking. More than enough time to panic.
Tonight would be fine. Yeah, that'd be okay.
Well, okay.
How about 7 at the Kona House on Bannock?
Sure. 7.
I'll see you there.
Awesome. I'll see you then.
Interior craft store day. Sharon hangs up the phone and returns to her customer. She puts her work face back on.
Sorry, what was it you needed framed, ma'am?
Interior Teacher's Lounge day. Doug hangs up the phone, then breathes out as though for the first time in minutes.
Stupid, stupid, stupid.
He glances back to the remaining teachers sitting in the lounge. She gives him a thumbs up. Exterior coffee shop evening. Early evening in downtown Boise. Doug nervously walks up to the Kona House and enters. Interior coffee shop evening. Doug steps inside the tiki-themed coffee shop packed with hipster douchebags interacting with their phones and laptops. Sharon stands from her seat and waves Doug over. A half-full tiki cup of coffee sits before her.
Hi, you made it.
Doug walks over to Sharon. He smiles a little anxiously and sits across from Sharon.
Yep.
How are you doing?
Not good. Pretty good. You?
Did you need anything?
Doug doesn't realize it at first that Sharon didn't say it. After a moment, he sees a cheery, heavily tattooed coffee girl standing at their table.
Aloha! Welcome to the Kona House. Did you need anything?
Oh, yeah. Just some coffee, thanks.
We've got Colombian, Jamaica cocoa buttercream, and...
A plain old black coffee will be fine.
He'll have the Colombian.
Yes, the Colombian.
All right, I'll be right back. Do you need a warm-up?
No, I'm good for now. Thank you.
The coffee girl leaves as Doug nervously attempts a smile.
Emily says you're an artist.
Yeah. I'm working at the frame shop to make ends meet. Plus it keeps me in canvas.
Excuse me?
Canvas. I'm a painter, so I need canvas.
What do you work in?
Acrylics mainly. But I do some sketching and charcoals on the side, though. It's nice to be able to get lost in creating something where you can shut out the world for a while.
At least you kept at it.
The coffee girl returns with Doug's drink and sets it before him.
Here you go, the Colombian.
Doug pulls a $5 from his pocket and hands it to her.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Let me know if you two need anything else.
Will do, thanks.
Doug takes a sip of the coffee. Too hot. He reacts.
You okay?
He nods bravely, then no, not okay.
The Colombian. I used to work in acrylics and watercolors, but I've lost the knack.
You never lose the knack. You just get out of practice.
No, it's a definite lack of knack we're talking about. No, really. I've let those skills atrophy when I got into college. I really just focused on my degree and getting into a good school.
Where'd you go to college?
No, not that. I meant like McKimpson Elementary. There are some really great kids there. I work with really good people. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
You like teaching?
Pretty much. Kind of like watching them grow as people over the course of the year as all this information starts to seep in and take hold. It's almost like when I used to paint. The feeling you get when you can tell that they're getting something out of what they're learning. You just can't beat it.
Sharon starts to smile as she listens to Doug loosen up. Exterior coffee shop downtown street, night. Sharon and Doug step out into the night air, both cautiously enjoying one another's company. She takes her coat off her arm and starts to put it on. Doug moves to help her, hesitates, worries about it for a moment, then finally moves to help. But it's too late. He's nervous again.
So, where'd you park?
I'm just across the street here.
Sharon points down the street away from where Doug parked.
Lead the way.
Doug starts to lead Sharon down the street and she lets him. She smiles to herself.
I've enjoyed talking with you tonight.
Well, it was really nice talking with you. I enjoyed our talking as well.
Good. Well, here we are.
She takes the last few steps to her car and unlocks her door. Sharon turns and innocently puts her hand on his arm. He flinches.
What?
Nothing. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. It's been nice. Thanks.
Of course. I'll see you again. Emily will make sure of that.
Yeah, she will. Have a nice night.
I already have. See you soon.
She gets in and waves to Doug as she drives off. He watches her drive away for a long moment, then heads off for his own car, muttering to himself.
Nice going, moron.
Interior elementary school hallway morning. The hallways are barren as Emily talks with the mother of one of her students. Jane Fleming stands dressed in business attire as her kids, Ken and Nancy, dawdle nearby. The two children look completely different from one another.
Well, Ken is doing pretty well with his studies, but he seems to be having a hard time relating to the girls in the class.
How's that? Is he bullying them?
Emily looks over to her student.
No, it's not that. He seems timid, almost painfully so.
Emily looks down the hallway past the kids. Jane follows the teacher's gaze. Doug crosses the corridor to his classroom. He waves to his fellow teacher, but Jane has already turned back to Emily. Jane watches Emily as the teacher waves back.
Mr. Holditch?
Oh, sorry. No, Doug's just a good friend.
Both women look back down the hall as Doug steps into his classroom. Jane turns back to her kids and loudly snaps her fingers. The children snap to attention as she waves them to her.
Well, I'll work with Kenny on his timidness, Miss Holditch.
Sure, no problem. So we're all set then, Ken.
Yes, ma'am.
Emily absently straightens the boy's hair.
I really appreciate you coming down, Mrs. Fleming.
Not for too much longer. I'm afraid it's going to be Miss Kearns for a while now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't be. Wasn't the first time, won't be the last.
Well, call if there's anything I can do to help.
Jane rounds up her daughter and starts to lead her away. Ken stands beside Emily.
I will. Thanks. You behave for Mrs. Holditch, Kenny. You got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Jane places her arms around her youngest and leads her toward the exit as Emily takes Ken to her classroom. Doug steps out of his classroom and down the hall as Emily sends Ken on ahead.
I'll be there in a second, Ken.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sunshine.
And to you as well.
Jane's POV. Doug talks to Emily outside of his classroom. Jane smiles to herself as she looks down to her daughter.
Come on, let's get you to school.
Okay, Mama.
Yeah.
Emily joins Doug at the entrance to his classroom. She's a little too perky for him this evening.
Morning, sunshine. Do anything fun last night?
I'm sure you've already gotten your report from Sharon, so as long as it wasn't too horrific, I'll back up whatever she said.
Emily goes wide-eyed in shock.
Well, I can't believe you guys really did that on a first date.
What? She said that?
She breaks, laughing, and heads back to her classroom.
Ah, you're too easy. See you later.
Come on. We didn't talk about anything much, just the usual guy gets to know girl sort of things, you know.
All right. I figured as much anyway. See you later.
Emily waves as she steps into her classroom. Interior Doug's apartment, day. A young female hand works a colored marker over some paper, creating her own work of art. Doug's daughter, Leslie, now a 14-year-old art spaz, occupies her time drawing while her father does some paperwork across from her. Her school backpack sits on the floor beside her.
Shoot,
What's wrong?
one of my markers just died.
Doug makes a face.
Just the one. Bummer.
Can we go to the store? Mom buys crap. I could drive.
I don't know.
His daughter puts on her please, please, please face.
Sure. Let's go.
Leslie jumps from her chair and urges them toward the door. Exterior craft store parking lot, day. The father and daughter walk toward the store as Leslie hands him the car keys.
So what was it you needed again?
Markers, colored pencils, glue sticks, the usual stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. The usual stuff. What happened to just needing some markers?
Interior craft store, day. Sharon and Emily walk through the craft store chatting. Around them, the store bustles with activity.
So how was your coffee date?
It wasn't a date. It was just two people talking.
You shut the place down. They had to kick you guys out.
Sharon manages a small smile as she enjoyed herself.
It was nice. He was a little uptight at first, but he loosened up after a while.
Well, that sounds like Doug.
He does seem a little gun shy, though.
William says he's less gun shy and more gun shits his pants.
Giggles flush out a real smile from Sharon. Emily smiles back.
I think I've missed that, hearing you laugh.
This sobers Sharon up, making her a little self-conscious.
Me too.
Two women round a corner and spot Doug and his daughter. Emily reacts first.
Hey, Leslie!
She looks up from the markers and spots the pair. Leslie and Emily hug like old friends. Doug steps back as the girls hug. Sharon seems a little shocked by the encounter.
Hi there.
Hi.
Emily directs Leslie's attention to Sharon, spinning her in place.
Sharon, this is my kick-ass friend, Leslie. Leslie, this is my old friend, Sharon.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Hi. But she's not old like your dad is. No one is.
The two pals giggle as they separate. Leslie steps back to her dad and he unconsciously puts his arm around her. Sharon's expression changes from an "oh shit, he's got a kid" to a twinge of envy over Doug's relationship with his daughter.
What are you up to?
Yeah, picking up some extra art supplies.
And how are you, sweetie?
Good.
School going okay?
Yeah, I guess.
How's your teacher this year, Mrs. Mills?
She's a lot of fun. A little weird, though.
Sharon looks over to Doug. He smiles as he watches Emily with his daughter.
Well, who isn't these days? Certainly not your dad.
Emily prompts a burst of giggles from Leslie.
We should get going. We're going to my parents for dinner.
Well, sure. Just as I was catching up with my sweetie here.
Leslie just smiles at Emily, the goon.
It was nice seeing you, Sharon.
And it's nice to see you too.
I'll be talking to you later, troublemaker.
Emily happily waves them off.
I'm sure you will. See you later, Leslie.
Leslie waves back as they head to the checkout stand. Sharon grabs Emily by the arm and pulls her closer to ask,
So when were you going to tell me about this?
What? About Leslie? Why? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Exterior craft store parking lot day. Leslie walks out of the store beside her dad, a big smile on her face. Doug notices.
What's your problem?
No problem. So who's Sharon?
A friend.
A friend, huh? I thought Emily was the only woman you knew.
Doug shoots her a look. Brat. Interior Kern's household night. Doug and Leslie are having dinner in his childhood home. They sit with his parents, enjoying meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Henry can't seem to get enough.
Been seeing anyone lately, Doug?
No. Why?
Leslie mentioned a lovely young woman she met today.
Sharon, somebody.
Leslie and Mary share a conspiratorial look.
I think it's a little early to start planning the wedding.
I was just curious as to who my son's been seeing.
He glares across the table to his mother. It's one of those irritated, just drop it looks.
Remember, Grandmother, she's only a friend.
Leslie gets the same look from her father. Henry never looks up from his ravenous feeding. Interior, exterior Doug's car, Meridian neighborhood night. Doug pulls his car to a stop in front of his ex-wife's home. Leslie starts gathering her things as the front door opens, revealing Leslie's mom, Ellen. Her body language shows why Doug hasn't gotten out of the car.
Thanks for the art supplies.
Anytime.
Sorry I ratted you out to Grandma.
He was mostly harmless. Just wait until you bring a boy over to meet me.
Crap. I forgot about that. I'll call you after my test on Thursday.
You know where I'll be.
She leans over and hugs her father tightly. Doug has a glimmer of unease, hugging his rapidly maturing daughter.
I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart. See you soon.
Leslie hops out of the car, dragging her school backpack behind her. She slams the door shut as Doug watches.
Love you.
She turns and waves back to the car before stepping inside. Her mom closes the door behind her, leaving Doug sitting out in his car. After a moment, he drives off. Interior craft store, day. A rustic landscape rendered in oils is on the counter, encased in its new frame. Sharon holds up the painting for her customer. The older woman takes her time examining Sharon's handiwork. Finally,
Very nice.
Thanks, Mrs. Langsdorff.
Sharon gently lays the framed painting down on the counter as the older woman starts searching for a credit card.
It's not every day I get to work on something this nice.
The older woman smiles at the compliment. Exterior craft store parking lot day. Twist of the key and the car trunk pops open. The older woman steps back from her car as Sharon places the painting, now wrapped in brown paper, in the car. The older woman steps past Sharon, patting her on arm as she moves to get in the vehicle.
Thanks for the help.
Glad to.
Sharon offers a little wave and smiles as the old woman fires up her car and backs out.
Hey,
Sharon turns, quickly smiling as Emily joins her.
what are you doing outside of the slave pit?
Nothing much. I could ask you the same thing.
You doing anything for dinner tonight?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Well, I have. Why don't you join Paul and I for dinner tonight?
Okay, I guess.
We'll pick you up at 7 then. Toodles.
She gooses Sharon, then starts heading back to the car.
You could have called.
Emily waves off the thought. Sharon shakes her head as she watches her friend leave. Exterior Preston home evening. The front door opens. Sharon steps outside and walks over to the SUV waiting in the driveway. Paul is driving. Emily sits in the front passenger seat of the car, her window down.
Hey, gorgeous.
Hush.
Sharon walks over and climbs in the back seat behind Emily. Interior Emily's SUV evening. Sharon gets into the SUV, shutting the door behind her.
Paul, your wife is a dork.
That's not the word I would use.
He smiles as Emily turns in her seat to face Sharon, smiling conspiratorially, and she looks over to Sharon's left.
I'm not a dork, am I?
Sharon turns to see who Emily is talking to, surprise playing across her face. Doug glances over to Sharon as he replies to Emily.
Words can't even begin to describe how big of a dork you are.
Sharon silently mouths hi to Doug. Emily turns back in her seat as Paul backs the SUV out of the driveway.
Dorks.
Exterior subdivision evening. SUV maneuvers through the quiet subdivision streets, heading to their rendezvous with dinner. Interior chain Italian restaurant night. The two couples step into the lobby of a franchise restaurant. It is a large, open room filled with customers and waitstaff bustling about. A hostess leads the four people to their butcher paper covered table. Emily coordinates them so Doug and Sharon sit together, with Doug on Sharon's left. The hostess hands them each a menu.
Your server will be with you in a moment.
Thanks.
Doug scans the restaurant, an amused expression on his face.
This looks like the Disneyland version of an Italian restaurant. Big and loud.
He turns his attention to his menu as Emily looks up from hers.
It's not that bad. Well, the food is good. Usually.
It's okay.
What would you suggest then?
Lowering your standards?
Emily makes a face.
Oh, hush.
Sharon smiles and looks over to Doug on her left. He's found the crayons and started sketching on the butcher paper. Sharon cocks her head at an angle to see what he's drawing. A spaceman aiming his ray gun at some unseen foe. Sharon sorts through the limited supply of crayons on the table and finds one that suits her. She reaches over to add to the drawing. Her hand moves in around Doug's and contributes a cute antennaed space girl besides the spaceman. Emily gently puts her hand on Paul's to get his attention. She points to the artists. A bubble helmet is added to the spaceman. Then the first crayon is dropped and a second comes in. A creeping alien terror lumbers toward the hero. Sharon draws the space girl's hand on the arm of her apparent hero. She swaps crayons and begins to fill in the damsel's orange hair. The two artists glance up at each other and make eye contact. In that moment, an almost tangible spark passes between them. They offer each other a smile and go back to their artwork. Their hands move around each other's effortlessly as they each add to the illustration. Doug adds some landscape receding into the distance behind the characters. Sharon takes a black crayon and fills in a starry night sky, leaving negative space for stars and a moon. Down angle on the illustration filling its corner of the table. The quality of the line work and composition betray its crayon origins. Pull back from Doug and Sharon as they continue to work on the butcher paper. As the rest of the table comes into view, their waitress steps up to take their order. Interior Emily's SUV night. Paul steers the SUV through the city streets as Emily leans her head against his shoulder. Doug and Sharon sit shoulder to shoulder in the back of the SUV, their eyes looking down to the butcher paper drawing held between them. Sharon runs her hand gently over Doug's. Doug moves his hand slightly to return the caress. It seems as though they are about to hold hands, but they don't quite commit to it. Doug watches their hands move over the other, sweat forming on his brow. He tries to keep himself in check. Sharon leans against Doug, moving up to his ear, her other hand holding his arm.
I had a nice time tonight. Thanks.
She gives Doug a small, sweet kiss on the cheek. Doug turns and looks at her face as the SUV slows to a stop. Exterior Preston home night. The SUV pulls into the driveway. Paul puts it into park. Interior Emily's SUV night. Emily sits up on her seat, turning around to face her guests.
Thanks for coming along, Sharon. I'll call you tomorrow.
Sharon collects her purse and starts getting out of the vehicle.
Thanks for inviting me. Good night, Doug.
Good night.
Exterior Preston home night. Sharon shuts the door and with a small wave to her friends steps inside. The SUV pulls out of the driveway. Interior Emily's SUV night. Doug sits quietly, placing the butcher paper roll into his lap. He folds it, he fiddles with it, treating it like a precious item. Emily sits turned in her seat, watching Doug. He wipes the sweat from his brow.
Did you have a nice night?
Yes. Thank you.
My pleasure.
A satisfied smile appears on Emily's face as she turns back around in her seat and leans back against her husband. Exterior subdivision night. The SUV drives off into the night, taking Doug home. Exterior Doug's apartment day. A few days later, the door opens with Doug behind it. He reacts to his guest.
Oh, hi there.
Sharon stands before him dressed comfortably and smiling easily. Doug is in a t-shirt and sweatpants.
How's it going? Are you busy?
Just paying bills. Did you want to come in?
That sounds great.
She smiles and walks in past Doug. Interior Doug's apartment day. Sharon surveys the surroundings as Doug closes the door. The dining room table is cluttered with stacks of open bills and checks.
So what brings you to this end of the town?
Well, I thought I'd see if you and Leslie wanted to go out and do something, and of course, Emily gave up your location without a moment's hesitation.
Of course she did.
Is she here?
She's at her mother's. I don't actually get her that often.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you still want to go out?
Sure, I guess.
I thought we could go out and have a picnic. How does that sound?
That'd be nice. Do I need to run to the store?
Don't sweat it. I've already made up a basket.
Oh, all right then. Well, give me a second to get dressed, okay?
I'll be here waiting.
Doug heads down the hall and into his bedroom, leaving Sharon to look around his living room. Interior Doug's apartment, bedroom day. He moves through the room, scattering clothes around as he gets undressed.
Shit.
Interior Doug's apartment, day. The easel sits by itself in its corner of the living room. A faint pencil sketch of a new work has been started. It looks vaguely familiar. Several dozen sketches are pinned on the walls around it, but now pinned over them is a butcher paper illustration from the restaurant. Sharon looks from the butcher paper to the canvas. This is what Doug is getting ready to paint. A glimmer of emotion moves across her face.
Oh my.
She turns away from the easel as she notices some pictures on a bookcase and moves over to inspect them. One catches her eye. A photo of a toddler and Leslie with Ellen and Doug in happier times. Sharon quietly smiles at the picture, then moves over to the dining room table and looks over the disarray. A detail on one of the checks catches her eye. Sharon leans down to examine it. An angle on the check, $1,200 is being paid to Ellen Magnuson Cairns. The note, child support, and alimony. Sharon steps back, maybe a little disappointed as Doug moves into the living room behind her. Sharon turns and sees Doug putting his sneakers on.
Do I need to bring anything?
I don't think so.
Exterior Table Rock day. Panoramic view of the Boise Valley on a spring day. Doug and Sharon checking out the view from the top of Table Rock Butte, which sits above the city. They have the area to themselves.
I haven't been up here in years.
I love this view. It's beautiful up here this time of year.
A moment of silence passes as they take in the view.
You ready to eat?
Unfortunately, I'm always ready.
Whatever.
Exterior Table Rock later. The stereotypical post-picnic disarray is laid out on the blanket. Sharon pulls a drawing tablet out of her bag as Doug is finishing off his sandwich.
What's up?
Unsheathing my weapons, so beware.
Sharon holds up her drawing tablet and pencils for Doug to see and starts sketching him.
Really?
Oh yes, really.
Doug begins to fidget.
Stop it. Sit still.
He tries, still uncomfortable.
I don't make a good subject.
And why is that, Mr. Kearns? Shy? Don't like looking at yourself?
Narcissism is not a problem for me, Miss Arnold.
Or do you not like seeing how other people see you?
It's not so much a matter of how people see me as much as if they ever do. My ex-wife used to say I was invisible.
Why is that?
She always said I don't want to stand out. I blend in too well.
And what do you say?
That Eeyore is my spirit animal.
I've heard that about you. Was she right? Ellen, I mean.
Sometimes.
I think she was wrong about you.
She hands Doug the sketch pad. He sees the sketch, a roughly drawn but nice likeness of Doug.
See? You're not invisible, Doug. You don't have to be.
Affected, Doug hands the tablet back to Sharon.
You weren't invisible at Emily's party. Or when we played pool.
Well, that was different somehow.
It was nice, though.
This isn't the same. I didn't know you. You weren't... I'd like to know you.
Does that scare you?
Sometimes.
Emily's told me a little.
She's always had a thing for lost causes. I really haven't done anything to deserve a friend like her.
She moves in and lightly puts her hand on his.
You're too hard on yourself.
So I'm told.
Sharon shushes Doug, then pulls his face around to hers and kisses him. Doug reluctantly returns the kiss. This time Sharon lets the kiss linger. After a moment, Doug pulls back and looks at her. She smiles warmly back to him, then leans up to him. They kiss again. A few minutes later, Doug lays back on the blanket and Sharon leans into frame, gently kissing his bare chest. Doug looks skyward, too many thoughts running through his head.
Relax.
I'm sorry.
Stop saying you're sorry. You don't have to be.
Is this what you want?
She stops to consider the question.
I think so.
Sharon smiles, then sits up, straddling his waist. She opens her blouse, revealing her bra.
Just relax.
Okay.
Good.
They kiss like they mean it. Exterior North End Street, day. Doug's car works its way down the picturesque street toward his apartment. Interior Doug's car, driving, day. Sharon leans against Doug, her head on his shoulders. On his shoulders. Doug kisses Sharon lightly on the head. She stirs, turning away as we flash cut through her thoughts. Exterior Table of a rock, flashback, day. Sharon lies on the blanket as Doug leans in and kisses her, his hand softly caressing her cheek. She closes her eyes, enjoying his touch. Interior Rexburg home, living room, flashback, night. Sharon is thrown back onto the couch, her long hair covering her tear-stained face. Sharon struggles to get away from John, but he kisses her roughly.
Stop it. I won't do it.
Exterior Doug's apartment day. Sharon sits up with a start. She looks around, trying to gauge where she is. Doug is next to her at the open passenger door. He withdraws his hand from her shoulder.
I'm sorry if I startled you.
No. No, you didn't.
Her hand moves up to her mouth in embarrassment. Tears begin to well in her eyes. Sharon looks around the car for her purse.
I've got to go.
Doug's car is parked next to Sharon's Honda. Sharon gets out and desperately ransacks the purse for her keys.
Thanks for coming by today.
Okay.
Doug wraps his arm around Sharon and holds her close, kissing her on the forehead.
Are you all right? Do you need to come in?
No, I need to go. Early day tomorrow.
All right. I'll call you tomorrow then.
Sure.
Sharon quickly kisses him on the cheek and gets into her car. Doug watches her drive off. He smiles to himself before walking up to his apartment, a newfound confidence in his manner. Interior Honda driving day. Sharon drives on her way home, tears streaming down her face, falling apart.
Oh, God. Why? Why now? No. Why?
Exterior Preston home day. The Honda pulls up to the driveway but stops short. Grim look covers Sharon's tear-stained face. Sharon's POV. Her husband's pickup sits in the driveway with him standing beside it. John steps toward her. The Honda idles for a moment as Sharon summons her resolve and pulls up to the curb. John steps around the front of the small car and opens the driver's door. He holds up a fistful of divorce papers.
What's the meaning of this?
You know what it means.
Sharon slowly gets out of the car, her eyes locked on John.
You're not getting out of this. You've got an obligation to me and my family. You got that? You're not Sharon Preston anymore. You're Sharon Arnold, my wife, mine.
He pauses, waiting for a reaction. He gets none. John grabs the front of Sharon's blouse and jerks it forward. Sharon's hands fly forward, hitting and pushing John squarely in the chest. He grabs her neck and forces her against the car.
Mom will call the cops.
No, she won't. She knows how much you need me. Need some control, doesn't she?
Sharon turns away.
I don't.
He looks back to the house as he releases his hands. Sharon's mother, Susan, is standing in the door, her expression now fearful.
I've called the police.
That doesn't mean anything.
John dismissively tosses the divorce papers to the ground and walks back to his truck. He climbs in and powers his vehicle out of the subdivision. Susan steps beside her daughter as he drives off and holds her.
I don't need him. I don't. Do I?
No, you don't, sweetheart.
Interior Preston home garage day. Sharon paints in the garage. She attacks the canvas with her brushes and paint, letting her emotions work themselves out. Intercut with interior Doug's apartment day. Doug sets his brush along the canvas and makes his first brushstroke over the pencil outline. He pulls back for a moment, thinking about it, considering the source art from the restaurant. Then he continues, returning to the creative outlet he once enjoyed at a small easel set in the corner of the small apartment. Interior Preston home garage day. Paint splatters on Sharon's work shirt and drop cloth as the artwork takes shape. It is a dark, emotional mess. Interior Doug's apartment night. Doug moves the paints across the canvas as a landscape forms. It is filled with color and light, the antithesis of Sharon's work. Interior Preston home garage night. Sharon steps away from the easel and surveys her work. She plops onto a stool, exhausted as her head falls in her hands. Interior Doug's apartment night. The completed landscape sits on the easel as across the room. Across the room, Doug sits on his couch. He seems pleased with what he has accomplished. Interior movie theater lobby night. William is ripping tickets as a few people are filing in late. William's badge reads Joe Kenahan. Doug is teeming with just got laid energy.
It isn't the second coming. You just shouldn't have let things get to that point.
I didn't mean for it to get to that point. I wasn't expecting it to. It felt really natural, like it was supposed to happen.
It usually does. Did she ask you to stop?
No.
Were either of you drinking?
No. It felt right, though. I'm sure we've connected somehow.
Connected's not the word I would have chosen.
Well, this is different. This isn't my standard pattern.
I hope not. You need to pull back for a few days. Don't call her for a few days.
Why not? She won't mind.
She's not the one I'm worried about. Not in the long run. If you call her right away, you're going to get your tail wagging and you'll be useless. To her. Yourself, completely fucking useless.
We'll be fine.
William looks at Doug, irritated. The pattern repeats. Interior craft store day. The telephone rings and Vaughn answers it. Then...
Sharon, it's for you.
She takes it, whispering a thanks to her coworker.
Hello, this is Sharon Preston.
Hi, Sharon. It's Doug.
Hey. Sorry. I'm with a customer right now.
Sharon's customer, the older woman, motioned that it's okay.
It's not really a good time to.
Sharon smiles weakly and turns away from the customer.
Oh, why don't you call me later? At home.
Interior Teachers Lounge, Day.
Now, what time? How about 7?
Well, I mean, maybe I should call you. I've been thinking about yesterday.
Me too. I love the time we had together, too.
I'm not sure we did the right thing, Doug. I wouldn't be good in a relationship right now. I think we need... I think I'm going to need a little bit more time.
Sharon listens to the silence on the other end and looks around to her customer who smiles at young love. Interior Teachers Lounge, Day. He knows exactly what she means. His expression shows that his soul has been crushed yet again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you give me a call if you feel like doing something sometime, all right?
Sure, Doug. I will.
He doesn't believe her.
It was nice seeing you, Sharon. I'm sorry I ruined this for you. Well, I'll talk to you later then.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Sharon hangs up the phone, unhappy with herself. She composes herself before returning to her customer, her thoughts elsewhere. Interior Teachers Lounge, Day. Doug hangs up his call as a few tears burst out before he can hold back the rest. He scans the room to see if he has embarrassed himself. Chelsea gives him a half-hearted shrug.
Moron.
The end of lunch bell rings, followed by the clamoring of students moving past the teacher's lounge. All sunshine. Emily pops her head in the door.
Come on, buddy. Back to the salt mines for you.
Doug stands from his chair and leaves, walking past Emily without a word. She's seen that face before. Interior Preston home, Day. Sharon steps into the house and shuts the door behind her.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Susan steps out of the kitchen, wiping off her hands.
Emily called for you a little earlier. Is everything okay?
Sharon heads up the stairs to her room.
No, not really. John didn't call, did he?
Not today.
Good.
Susan watches her daughter and head into the room, a little softer than before. Interior Doug's apartment, Day. Doug unlocks his front door and steps inside. He throws his jacket on the couch out of habit. He sighs deeply and looks around his apartment, disgusted with it, with himself, with everything. He takes the remote and turns on a bad black and white movie. The video flicks light across the apartment, casting shadows onto the easel and the painting. Doug looks across to the finished art, then to its butcher paper counterpart. After a moment, he picks up the phone. Interior Preston home, kitchen, Day. Phone rings abruptly as Susan enters the kitchen. She picks up and answers.
Hello?
Silence for a few moments, then the click of someone hanging up on the other end. Susan places the phone back on the hook. Sharon yells to her mother from upstairs.
Who is it?
No one. They hung up.
Interior Doug's apartment, Day. Doug hangs up the phone and lays back on his couch, his hands covering his face. Interior Preston home, bedroom, Day. Sharon sits on the edge of her bed and looks around her room. Prints of a few familiar paintings line the walls, mixed with a few Sharon Arnold originals. Her gaze stops on the image of Doug she drew up at Table Rock. Beside it sits her newest, most aggressive painting. She looks at these two pieces of work as she wipes away some tears. Sharon reaches over and picks up the phone. Interior Preston home, bedroom, night. The door to Sharon's room lies shut. A moment later, Emily steps inside. She sits down on the bed beside the sobbing Sharon and holds her.
What's wrong? What happened with Doug?
It takes some time for Sharon to choke out her reply.
John was here yesterday. After that, I saw Doug.
Oh, sweetie.
I don't need him, do I? John?
No, you don't.
Feels like I'm being smothered, like I'm stuck in some box and I can't.
Emily holds Sharon a little tighter and rocks her, trying to calm her.
Did Doug do something?
I don't know. No, he didn't. Sometimes everything feels great, then it doesn't somehow. I don't know. I don't know if it's Doug or if it's just me.
It's never just any one person. You're much too hard on yourself.
Sharon somehow giggles.
What?
I told Doug the same thing.
Emily places her arm around her best friend. Interior Doug's apartment, night. Doug's painting sits on the easel. It is now marred with black streaks reflecting Doug's sense of defeat. Liam looks at Doug's painting, then leans down, picks up the bald piece of butcher paper and unfolds it. It is the restaurant drawing. The beauty of the original illustration still shows on the crumpled paper.
Oh my god.
He turns from the picture to his friend.
Why do you... How could you destroy this?
I need to apologize to her.
Stop. Sometimes people do things they want to do, but don't think about whether or not they should. This is probably one of those times.
I shouldn't have let it get that far.
There were 2 people there, not just you. It's not just your fault.
That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Listen to yourself. You don't always have to be the fall guy.
That's what I'm best at, isn't it?
Woe is me. Well, stop it then, goddammit. You're no more screwed up than anybody else. Deal with it.
That's a small consolation.
Doug, it was just a date. A picnic, okay? There's no commitment here. You gotta pull back. You can't just latch onto someone after you meet them and start getting worked up. They're not all going to be the one.
I know, but I can't help it.
Bullshit. You can. Quit feeling sorry for yourself.
I'm not.
More bullshit.
I don't know why I'm this way.
Well, it's about time you figure it out.
William lets this thought hang in the air, wanting Doug to consider it. Finally,
You want to go get a drink?
No. And you shouldn't either. That's not the way to stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, you're probably right.
interior downtown bar, night. A baseball game is playing on the TV mounted over the bar. Todd is cleaning as Doug sits nursing a beer. He looks away from the set and stares into his beer as we transition through his silent memories. Interior Doug's car, flashback, night. Carolyn Headley pushes Doug away as she gathers her purse to leave. Exterior Retta's apartment, flashback, night. Retta reacts to Doug's hug, stepping back from him. Interior Kate's apartment, flashback, day. Kate stands in her doorway across from Doug. He apologizes to her, but she only shakes her head. Interior Doug and Ellen's bedroom, flashback, morning. Ellen screams at Doug, tears streaming down her face. Interior Emily's classroom, flashback, day. Emily stands behind her desk as she admonishes Doug for his actions. Her face shows her feelings of hurt and betrayal. Interior parking garage, flashback, night. Jen backs up against her car as she reacts to Doug's advances. Interior craft store, flashback, day. Sharon watches Emily interact with Doug and his daughter. A slight twinge of panic passes across her face. Interior downtown bar, night. Flashes of light bounce over Doug's face, pulling him from his thoughts. He looks up at the television set. The home team won, and the resulting fireworks celebration spills light across the bar. Doug manages a weak smile as he watches the commercial, his thoughts leading us away. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. A 10-year-old Doug Kearns sits on a blanket looking skyward. Fireworks explode in the cool night air, lighting up the park and the spectators. Beside him sits his sister and parents. Interior downtown bar, night. Doug watches the sports broadcast, his mind elsewhere. Behind him, someone enters from outside and catches Todd's eye.
And she has arrived.
Jane places her coat on the stool next to the one she takes.
What can I get you, Janie?
How about the usual?
You got it.
Thanks.
Todd heads down the bar to fill Jane's order. She watches him move away, then her eyes move around to the rest of the bar, checking out her surroundings as Todd brings her a drink.
Here you go. Did you see that Doug's here?
I see that now. Thanks.
Jane quickly tosses some money on the counter and moves down to Doug, sitting beside him.
Hey there, little man.
Doug looks over and sees her beside him. She's all smiles. He's drunk. Takes a moment to make the connection.
Jane, when did you get here?
About 25 seconds ago.
No, I meant...
I know. A couple of months ago after Jimmy and I divorced.
Doug nods as the information sinks in past the alcohol.
Looks like you've been here a while.
A bit. Rough day. Thus, too much booze.
I saw you at McKimson Elementary the other day. Kenny has Mrs. Holditch for class.
Really? She's great. A very good teacher, Emily.
Do you want another?
No answer. Jane gently rubs his back. Doug looks over to her.
You want another one?
Sure.
Jane smiles and turns motioning for Todd. Another round.
2 shots.
Exterior Warm Springs Boulevard, night. A Mercedes drives toward the east end of the city. Interior Mercedes driving, night. Jane drives. Doug sits quietly in the passenger seat, the pair mirroring Doug and Sharon's drive earlier. She glances over at Doug and smiles, remembering some past experience.
You can crash on the sofa. I'll call you a ride tomorrow. What? Oh, can you a ride home? I'll get you home tomorrow.
Thanks.
Exterior suburban neighborhood, night. The Mercedes pulls into the driveway of a home in a familiar neighborhood. The driver kills the ignition, then gets out with her guest. Jane leads Doug inside. Interior Jane's house, night. Jane opens the front door and leads Doug in. She flips on the living room lights as she removes her coat. 2 teenagers jump up at the sudden burst of light, knocking a few items from the shelf beside the couch. The babysitter and her boyfriend stand abruptly, the boy pulling his hand from the girl's top.
I'm sorry, Miss.
Jane raises a finger to shush the girl. In almost the same motion, she shows them the door. The two high school kids walk past the adults, embarrassment and guilt playing on their features.
I'm sorry, Miss Kearns. It won't happen again. The kids have been asleep a while and...
I'll pay you tomorrow, Miss Cleveland.
Jane shuts the door and locks it behind the kids.
Happen a lot.
Sometimes.
Nice place.
It was nice to find something in the old neighborhood.
Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. Young Jane tosses an Atari game cartridge to the 10-year-old Doug. He excitedly looks it over.
Dad said this is your favorite at the arcade, right?
You know it. Can I play it?
The younger Jane smirks as she takes the cartridge from him.
Do you remember this place?
Interior Jane's house, night. He drunkenly glances around and does recognize his surroundings.
Barely.
Jane steps up to Doug and kisses him softly on the cheek. Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. Jane pulls back from the younger Doug.
What was that for?
For fun.
Jane moves up close to him and moves her hand gently over Doug's face. Interior Jane's house, night.
It's been a long time for me. I've missed you.
She kisses him lightly on the mouth and moves her way down his neck, planting little kisses as she goes. Doug closes his eyes, drunk and enjoying the sensation.
That feels nice.
Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. Jane withdraws from Doug's neck and smiles at him, her hands firmly on his shoulders.
Bet a girl never did that for you before.
Doug shakes his head. Nope. Interior Jane's house, night.
I'm drunk.
Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day.
What are you doing?
She smiles as she puts a finger over Doug's lips, shushing him. Her hand moves from his lips and wanders down the low frame. Her eyes never leave his. Conflicting emotions play over Doug's face as she leans into his ear.
Do you like that?
Uh-huh.
Interior Jane's house, night.
Good.
Jane pulls away from the kiss and unbuttons her blouse for Doug. It falls open for him as she reaches back to his groin. Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. A look of wonder starts to cross Doug's face as he looks over Jane. His gaze moves up to her face.
The older boys always like this part.
Interior Jane's house, night. Jane moves one hand over her chest as her other hand continues to work off screen.
Do you still like them?
Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. Doug nods quickly as he starts to get caught up in the moment. Young Jane smiles lasciviously to her student. She sits up on her knees, her hands ministering to Doug out of frame.
Come down here next to me. Show your big sister how much you love her.
Sure.
Interior Jane's house, night. The older Doug, his face a confusing blend of emotions. He starts to snap out of his alcohol-induced fog.
What? Stop.
Jane grunts her reply, no. Doug starts to pull away from her as the realization starts to hit him. His hands force Jane from him. She lands back on her butt, a hand wiping her mouth. Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day. Jane has Doug pinned on the couch. Her arm is planted in his throat. Doug lies beneath her, his eyes locked to hers. Her other hand is doing something off frame.
I'm just trying to show you what girls want. Why are you scared?
I'm not scared.
Replacing the young Jane in his memory.
Then what's wrong, little man?
Interior Jane's house, night. Doug starts roughly pulling his pants back on.
No, this isn't right.
Jane moves forward and pushes Doug back onto the couch. She climbs over him, sliding her breasts across his chest.
You enjoyed our summer together before. It'll be better this time.
She slides her tongue up the length of his throat. Interior Jane's house, 1980s. Flashback day.
Come on, just close your eyes and relax.
The 10-year-old does as Jane asks. Interior Jane's house, night. Doug pulls away from the kiss.
Get off me. You're my sister.
Jane moves her breasts up to his face, forcing them on him.
Half-sister. Give me what I want. Fuck me.
Stop it.
Jane doesn't. Her actions get more needy.
Why? You were so eager before.
Doug's hands wrench the woman off him. She falls hard to the floor. He kneels down beside her, concerned that she's hurt.
God, are you okay? Did I hurt you?
Jane grabs Doug's face with both hands, struggling for a kiss.
Come on. It was okay before. It'll be better now.
Doug tries to move away, but Jane struggles to hold on.
No, it wasn't.
Doug pries free from her and quickly backs to the door.
Please, don't leave me.
The front door slams shut and Jane begins to cry. In the hallway behind her stands her daughter.
Mama?
Jane withers. How much did the girl see? Exterior suburban neighborhood night. Doug rushes out of Jane's house and down the sidewalk. As he walks down the dark street, his mind flashes over the summer and his past. Exterior park, 1980s. Flashback night. A crowd is gathered to watch the fireworks. The shells burst overhead, sending luminescent trails in the night sky. The appreciative crowd oohs and ahs its appreciation. The Kearns family cranes their heads skyward and take in the show. Jane sits beside Doug, lazily running her hand along his back, her look to him betraying her thoughts.
Man, this is great.
Exterior suburban neighborhood, night. Doug keeps walking, lost in thought. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. A spectacular mortar explodes in the sky. Shadows dance through the trees as the sparks descend. Jane has Doug backed against a tree, away from the crowd. She shushes him, then smiles. Another burst fills the sky with light. She takes his hand and moves it over her breast.
Like that? Girls like that?
Interior parking garage, flashback, night. Jen moves her hand up Doug's arm and squeezes it. He reacts in kind, his hand moving more firmly on her breast.
They love that.
Exterior suburban neighborhood, night. Doug wipes away some tears but doesn't stop walking. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. Jane moves in tight against Doug and kisses him. Off-screen, more fireworks explode overhead. Interior Doug's car, flashback, night. Doug and Carolyn deepen their kiss, but her hand reaches out for the dashboard. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. Jane withdraws from the kiss. She looks to Doug's face and then down to her right hand. The younger Doug stiffens his back against the tree and swallows hard. Interior Kearns household, living room, flashback, night. Helen has Doug pinned against the wall, her hand working him off frame.
Do you like that?
Doug nods. She smiles and moves down to her knees. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. Jane smiles lasciviously as Doug catches his breath. Fireworks light up the sky. She moves her hand across Doug's face, wiping the sweat from his brow.
See, that wasn't so bad.
Interior Jane's house, flashback, night. Jane moves her breasts up to his face, forcing them on him.
Give me what I want. Fuck me.
Interior Jane's house, 1980s, flashback, day. Tight on the younger Jane, smiling.
Fuck me.
Exterior Kearns household, night. Doug slows to a stop, his mind racing. Exterior park, 1980s, flashback, night. Jane releases her hold on Doug and looks down the front of his pants. A little smirk, then she casually zips up his fly as their father calls.
Jane, Doug, get over here. It's time to go.
The young girl kisses her finger and places it on his lips. Doug looks at her with wide-eyed wonder. Exterior Kearns household, night. He looks at the darkened home before him and slowly walks up to the house. His parents' home, his childhood home. Doug raps lightly on the front door and waits. After a moment, the push light comes on and the front door opens. Doug's mother lets him in. Interior Kearns household, kitchen, night. Doug and his parents sit in the home's small kitchen. A pot of coffee sits on the background, 3 cups on the table. Henry sits glowering into his cup of coffee.
Why didn't you tell us about this before?
I had forgotten about it. Before, I guess I didn't realize that it meant anything.
Why would you say that? Didn't you know it was wrong?
No one told me it was wrong.
We would have supported you if you'd told us.
I didn't know it was wrong.
This is horse shit. Jane wouldn't have done that. She didn't fuck you. She's your sister. You little degenerate. Your mother and I didn't raise her that way.
Why'd you send her back to your ex-wife then?
Mary looks away from the table as she remembers. Doug's father stands from this table and angrily tosses his coffee mug into the sink, shattering it.
Henry?
Interior Kearns household hallway, 1980s, flashback, day. The door to Jane's bedroom opens, and Doug starts to back out into the hallway. Jane gives him a quick kiss on the lips before playfully pushing him away. Doug takes a step or two back, a goofy smile on his face when he bumps into someone. He reels and finds himself standing before his unhappy father. Interior Kearns household kitchen, night.
I'm not going to sit here and listen to him accuse his sister of this.
He storms off to bed, leaving Doug and his mother alone in the kitchen. He'll
calm down. He's never taken criticism of Jane very well.
She pats his head.
It's okay. I understand what you're going through.
How can you say that? I'm telling you that Jane molested me for a whole summer before Dad shipped her off to the sticks, and you understand? This woman, my sister, half-sister, whatever, so completely fucked up my perception of women that I haven't realized it until now. 35 goddamn years later. I feel like I can finally see how all my relationships have failed. Your granddaughter is from a woman I now realize most reminds me of my sister. Am I the only one who realizes how fucked up this is?
Mary tries to regain some composure or dignity in this situation.
So, what are you going to do?
Doug sits there mute, unsure of what to say. Interior Kearns household living room, night. Doug walks over to the fireplace's photo-lined mantel. The framed photograph from the opening sits apart from the others. Doug, his parents, and half-sister. They stand tightly together, all smiles. He examines it, thinking things over. Exterior movie theater day. It's midday as Doug walks up as William changes the marquee. William glances over to Doug, still intent on his task.
Hey.
Hey, how are you feeling? You didn't go out drinking last night, did you?
Yeah, I did. I ran into Jane.
Really? She's back in town. How's she doing?
That's something I kind of need to talk to you about.
William is intrigued and gives Doug his undivided attention. On the soundtrack, Yvonne begins to play one of her songs. Doug looks at William, considering the question again before he begins to tell his tale. Dissolved to interior downtown bar night. Yvonne, the folk singer, is on stage playing her song as a closing montage begins with her song as soundtrack. Interior elementary school hallway day. Doug walks silently down the empty hallway. He walks past Emily's classroom and glances inside. Doug's POV. Emily talks with Sharon. He turns away from the door and leans into a locker, trying to hold back his emotions. Exterior downtown street corner day. As traffic moves behind them, Doug quietly talks with Kate Leffler. He's trying to make peace with the women he's mistreated. Over the next several scenes, we only hear snippets of what Doug has to say.
I felt the need to apologize for how I've treated you.
Interior coffee shop day. Doug and Jen McCullough sit near the window of the familiar coffee shop. They speak quietly and respectfully to each other.
Why I wanted that?
I realize that now because...
Interior restaurant night. A booth in the back of the bar holds Doug and Carolyn Headley. She slowly sips her beer, never taking her attention away from Doug.
My sister was only a few years older, but she had a lot of...
Exterior North End home day. Retta Kimball is gardening in her yard. Her child plays in an outdoor baby seat. Doug sits behind the child, playing with it as he talks to her mom.
Rest of my life, seeing its effect on you and every woman I've known.
Exterior Meridian neighborhood night. Ellen Magnuson stands outside the entrance to her home. She listens intently to Doug, but her attitude is still standoffish.
I feel terrible knowing that I've hurt you because of this.
Interior chain Italian restaurant night. Doug sits with Emily in her favorite Italian restaurant. As they speak, Doug runs his hand over the butcher paper covering the table, remembering the last time he was here.
And I'm having a hard time working through this. It's like I'm having to start all over again because everything was all wrong. I'm sorry about that.
Well, you've got a good soul, Doug. You have no reason to hide it anymore.
Interior downtown bar night. As the song continues, the camera pulls back and reveals the folk singer's audience. Bartender Todd hands off two bottled beers to a barroom Casanova, who heads toward the back of the bar. Waitress Gwen works the room in the background. Interior law firm office day. The song continues, angle on Paul's desk, littered with papers, but with one set standing out from the others. Sharon's final divorce papers. Sharon looks over to Paul and Emily, nervous and unable to contain her enthusiasm. She places her hand on Sharon's shoulder as she signs in all the right spots. Sharon sits back from the freshly signed papers and takes a deep, cleansing breath.
How do you feel? It's nice to be Sharon Preston again. Boring old me.
Exterior Jane's house day. Jane sits on the front porch of her home, sipping from a cup of hot tea. She glances up to the person standing before her. Doug. A moment of panic crosses her face as Doug steps toward her. She's expecting the worst. He sits beside her.
You okay?
This question causes Jane to lose it. She leans into Doug, crying. Exterior Rexburg home day. John steps up to his mailbox and empties it of today's arrivals. He quickly looks through them and stops on one in particular. An envelope from Sharon. John opens it and removes the contents. Sharon's wedding ring. Defeated, angry, he goes back to his empty home. Interior art gallery evening. Sharon is at her new job. People mill about the gallery, glasses of wine in hand, as they survey the art on a crowded first Thursday evening. Interior downtown bar night. The song continues as the camera trucks in on Sharon sitting by herself, glumly finishing her beer. The barroom Casanova steps into frame, 2 beers in his hands. His dialogue goes unheard, but Sharon looks up to his question. She gives him a weak smile. No, thank you. He persists, but she waves him away. As he leaves, Sharon fights back her tears. Exterior Art Museum day. Winter. Snow is on the ground outside the Boise Art Museum. Interior Art Museum day. Doug walks through the galleries, admiring the exhibition. He stops before a painting, not noticing the person already there. He glances over and realizes who it is.
Hi.
Sharon looks over, surprised as well.
Oh, hi. How are you?
She places her hand on his arm without thinking, pleased to see him again. Doug doesn't pull away.
I'm good. And you? You seem good.
If only you knew. You can't imagine the
She stops herself, smiling at Doug.
enough about the past. It's nice to see you, Doug.
It's nice to see you too.
The camera slowly pulls back, leaving Doug and Sharon to have their conversation in private as we dissolve to Interior Donut Shop Day, an artisanal donut shop in downtown Boise. It has a quiet, more low-key atmosphere as people interact with each other. Doug and Sharon are talking over coffee as snow falls over the streets displayed behind them. No dialogue is heard as music dominates the soundtrack, and we watch them reconnect. No baggage this time. Fade to black.
Thank you, everyone.
I make a motion. We have a short break before any
Q&A.
Q&A.
I second that.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Mm-hmm.